Banana. Okay.
Hey, how we doing? Welcome to Solo Reviews. I'm Joey Crispy, our couch collections, if you will. And I'm glad to be here on a bright, shiny day in Boulder, Colorado. And we got a movie to talk about right now, and it is 1917. I went to the theater for this, was humbly surprised at how well received it was, critically and by myself, and even the crowd too. The audience was really into it. Kind of like Quiet Place, where everybody's just like really like, ooh, something's about to happen, but we can't like interact with it. So you're kind of just like the silent observer in this one. And I think that's because this movie was shot in a way that really puts you into it, where you want to have all your senses available, like your sight, your hearing, your touch, everything like has to be in the moment. And so sitting in the theater, you're really dragged into it. So 1917, directed by Sam Mendes, 2 hours straight, almost one shot entirely, very close to one shot. There was a couple scenes where it was obvious that they cut, or was close to, they had to do something, where there's some spoilers here. The explosion in one of the underground barracks, that kind of just like rumble, and then like like the camera went by one of the walls. So some of those situations, like they obviously did some kind of a cut in the day and night sequence, stuff like that. But yeah, it basically took its own chronological time lapse, like you're in the time lapse exactly how it's going. And I find that to be awesome, because a lot of movies kind of give you this big thing that happens, right? Or like there's a murder, or there's some big event that happens, and then it like shows the emotion real quick, and then it just cuts to another scene like hours later, or like a day later even, and you just lose the essence of humanity there. But with this movie, it was truly emotionally invested, and that's how I felt too. And that's how Sam Mendes felt about the one-shot sequence. Like he said that putting it in one shot makes you emotionally attached to the story, and I saw that clearly with the death sequences and whatever was happening there. So you come into this movie and you're like, oh, 1917, war movie, right? And you think, oh, action-packed, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be violent. Not as much for this one, and it was a little more slow-paced, but it totally paid off. And the reason why is the two corporals. We had Lieutenant Schofield and Lieutenant Blake, who's the guy who's looking for his brother. Basically, they're sending a message from one camp to another to warn the British line to not go forward, because it's basically a trap, which would kill thousands. So they have the two messengers go and deliver the message by themselves, espionage, undercover, just going through and running, basically. Just these two guys. If they bring any more than that, it's going to be compromised. So it's kind of interesting, because in the beginning, like they got, told this sergeant, like they're going to like run through the trench. He's like, good luck, mate. Like, yeah, right. Like, you're crazy. Like, I don't think that's going to work. And then they go over the trench, find the other barracks, and discover that they're emptied, but they're booby-trapped. And so the adventure begins, per se. A lot of investment in the characters, those two characters. And what I found most interesting was actually everyone else's perception of them, because it was kind of unorthodox for them to be doing that. Like, the whole thing was like, this is like some secret mission, only you two know about it. Like, what the hell is this? Like shut up, like get out of here. Like, you're wasting our time. And so they had to also convince, like, one, they had to get there, and two, they had to convince the general to stop the battle. And so that culminated in the end sequence with, spoilers, the general is Benedict Cumberbatch, who did a fantastic job at being like, You think you're just gonna walk in here to my barracks and tell me what to do? No. And a lot of convincing there. And then a side story of Schofield having to relay a message to Blake's brother. So a very long, basically like 2-day sequence. And you know, I really do dig Saving Private Ryan, and this was similar to that in a regard, but it's trench warfare, it's World War I. So that really puts a cap on it of what you're expecting. And so I like movies to me, like I go into it, I want to see a good atmosphere, good character development, decent plot, and then I want to see basically emotion from the characters. Like I want to see them come to some kind of a resilient aspiration and come out of it with success. Or they don't have to come out of it with success, but like you're rooting for the hero in this one, right? So I think that there's a lot of times where you're like, no, they're not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And it just seems like too much. So anyway, it's a very great movie. I don't think it's out in theaters anymore, but try to watch it in the most condensed area that you can. Lights off, loud sounds, and just don't, put your phone away. Just actually sit with it, because that's like what it's meant for. And I think movies these days are really unlikely to have that. So I'd say watch it like that. My little pinpoint on it would be watch it without any distractions and just sit with it. That's what I'd go for. 1917. What'd you guys think about it, honestly? Because I've had a lot of people give it praise. There were a few parts where I was like, it's not as great, but I had to appreciate it for what it was. And I think the whole thing culminated, for me, with the story that was told in the forest. And it was basically sung to the men. This whole story was sung, and it was just beautiful because everybody was listening. You're just sitting there listening. And it goes around in a 360 shot and shows everyone. And then it shows Schofield, who's just dealt with the worst night ever. And it's just amazing how much emotion's on the face. And yeah, giving it some time, so it's much appreciated. I hope to see more movies like this in the future, not even just war movies, but in that kind of style. So nods off to Sam Mendes, very well done. And yeah, what do you guys think about it? Let me know what's going down. What do you think about it? Pros and cons are always good to have both, and you don't want to be too one-sided. But yeah, discuss away. And check out some more of Crispy's collection videos. We have my Solar reviews, and we have our Let's Plays with Buzz. So check those out. Thanks for the support. See you next time.